Back again. Another episode of A Muslim and Atheist Breaks Bed. Just want to say, first of all, thank you to everyone for watching the videos. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you want us to react to. I think we're enjoying this, man. Like, you know, and it is. Even though me and you chat, like, it's good just to sit down and really talk on a subject, you know, and you're holding it in. So, yeah, man. So, I'm going to let you take over with this because...
Well, it's topic based. That's why it's more enjoyable rather than veering off onto things. The films focus you on the subject, whereas traditionally we'd talk and then it would switch to another switch to another. So this keeps it on point. In terms of what we're going to watch now, history, African Dogon people. These were the people who brought information about Sirius, the star, to the world.
Sirius, the star, what's that?
Some star in space that modern technology didn't know about, and African people had maps and stuff. When they did know about it, they didn't know about they still couldn't see other planets behind it until recently.
Oh, okay.
And the Dogon knew of the existence of these places.
Yeah, I think it was called the Dark Star, innit? I think.
Possibly.
Yeah,
Let's see.
Let's have a look. So this is a history of the Dogon, and then...
What up, African world? It's Home Team here, and welcome back to another video of African history, culture, and worldview. And welcome back to my series, A Closer Look. Today, we're going to take a closer look at the Dogon people of Mali. And as always, if you want to support the home team, you can do so on patreon.com. I have some new rewards for you guys, so be sure to check that out. Also, go to afrographics.com, a website where you can find unique illustrative infographics summarizing African history. All links to Patreon, Afrographics, and home team merchandise are in the description box below. According to oral tradition, the Dogon were originally members of the Kita family, a Mande-speaking group from the Niger River who fled their homes sometime between the 10th and the 13th centuries because they refused to convert to Islam. The oral tradition may show that the Dogon absorbed Mande-speaking refugees from the centralized Islamic kingdoms of the Niger Basin. However, the Voltaic or Gur language of the Dogon suggests a more ancient presence in their present-day homeland in south-central Mali. They inhabit the rugged and isolated Bandigara escarpment and surrounding regions southwest of the Niger Bend. The cliffs at the edge of the escarpment protected the Dogon from outside invaders. Dogon settlements concentrate around isolated pockets of arable land, where they farm millet as a subsistence crop. Traditionally, the Dogon have shared this territory with the Fulani, who exchange their dairy products for Dogon grain and produce. Their rugged and isolated territory left them relatively unaffected by French colonialism and missionary work. By maintaining their pre-colonial cultural traditions and customs, the Dogon have attracted the attention of numerous ethnographers, including the French anthropologist Marcel Grial and the French ethnographic filmmaker Jean Roche. In recent years, however, the Dogon have increased their participation in the cash economy. Some villages have specialized in traditional crafts and performances in order to attract commercial tourism. Some Dogon have even left their homeland in search of wage labor, particularly in Bamako, Mali, and the mines of Côte d'Ivoire. Unfortunately, the Dogon have also recently faced animosity from their Fulani neighbors, with whom they compete for scarce mineral resources and mining jobs. A Hogan, or headman, traditionally the oldest man in the area, provides spiritual leadership. He performs rituals and safeguards the religious mask for which the Dogon are famous. The Dogon fall into at least 4 smaller groups: the Dayan, Aru, Onan, and Dumno. Unlike their Muslim neighbors, most Dogon still practice a traditional religion with a complex mythology. This has received considerable anthropological attention. Dogon cosmology considers every being a combination of complementary opposites. Elaborate rituals are necessary to maintain this balance. Ancestor worship is another important facet of Dogon religion. Members of the Society of Mask perform rituals to guarantee that a person's life force will flee from his or her corpse to a future relative of the same lineage. One of the most famous Dogon rituals is the Sigi, a series of rituals performed once every 60 years, recorded by filmmaker Jean Roche. Islamic missionaries, however, have had some success among the Dogon, and approximately 35% of the Dogon population are now Muslim. Much of Dogon art consists of ritual masks made with carved wood and other materials. Dogon architecture conveys symbolic relationships in Dogon society and is considered one of the most distinctive styles in West Africa. When the Dogon arrived at the Bandiagara escarpment, they found architecture and other remains of earlier civilizations. At the head of the village is a blacksmith's shop and a toguna, a community men's house. The toguna is an open walled structure with roof supports carved in human shapes, often the female form. Typically, the toguna has 8 such supports, with the number representing the first 8 Dogon ancestors who sat in a ruling council. Today, these ancestors impart wisdom and spiritual knowledge to Dogon elders when they meet in the togona to discuss village affairs. In the Dogon religion, Amma is the supreme creator god. The efforts of Amma initiated the formation of the universe, the creation of matter, and the process of biological reproduction. The notion of a creator god named Amma or Amen is one that is not unique to the Dogon people, but can also be found in the religious tradition of other West African and North African groups. Like other important Dogon cosmological keywords, the word Amma carries with it more than one level of meaning in the Dogon language. From one perspective, it can refer to the hidden god of the Dogon, and yet from another perspective, it can mean to grasp, to hold firm, or to establish. Among the Dogon, Amma is thought of as the god who holds the world firmly between his or her 2 hands, and to speak the name Amma is to entreat him or her to continue to hold it. Although commonly referred to as male, Amma is considered to symbolize both male and female principles, and as a result, is more properly characterized as genderless or as being of dual gender. This dual aspect of Amma's character is consistent with the broader cosmological principles of duality and the pairing of opposites that are expressed symbolically in all facets of Dogon religion and culture. It's also consistent with the male and female aspects of biological reproduction that Amma symbolizes. The Dogon religion is characterized as an esoteric tradition, one that involves both public and private aspects. Although Amma could be said to embody great creative potential, he or she is in fact considered by the knowledgeable Dogon priests to be small, so small as to be effectively hidden from view. Although this detail of Amma's character is generally not spoken of in public among the Dogon. This perceived smallness of Amma is consonant with the instrumental role that he or she is said to play in the mythological processes of the formation of matter and of biological reproduction. Perhaps the first important creation of the Dogon god Amma was an unformed universe, a body that is said to have held all the potential seeds or signs of future existence. The Dogon referred to this body as Amma's egg. Now, it's actually been noted by respected researchers of Dogon myth, such as historian Nicholas Grimmel in his book, A History of Ancient Egypt, that there are likely symbolic parallels between key Dogon mythological characters and those of ancient Egypt. For instance, it can be argued that Amma is a likely counterpart to the Egyptian hidden god, Amen, much as attributes of the jackal of the Dogon myths present clear parallels to the jackal god of the Egyptian underworld. Likewise, comparisons can be made between the Egyptian god Sab or Anpu, who acts as judge between good and evil, and the pale fox of Dogon tradition, who is charged with a similar role of judging between truth and error. The religious beliefs of the Dogon were first documented in studies conducted during the 30s, 40s, and 50s by French anthropologists Marcel Garel and Germain Deterlaine. A very interesting aspect of Grael's observation of Dogon cosmology lies with the suggestion that the Dogon know subtle details of the star system of Sirius beyond what might be reasonably observed with the naked eye. These details include an understanding that Sirius is a binary star system composed of a large, bright, sun-like star, Sirius A, and a much smaller, darker, dense, and heavy dwarf star, Sirius B. Goral also reported that the Dogon are aware of the 50-year period of orbit of Sirius B and Sirius A, a value that the Dogon assign as an interval between ritual observances of an important festival called Sigi, as mentioned before. These attributes of the Sirius star system were confirmed by the modern scientific community in 1915, almost 40 years before they were reported by Gural in connection with the Dogon. Based on that fact, Carl Sagan proposed that the Dogon most likely learned these astronomical facts from some modern visitor and later chose to incorporate them into the body of myth they reported to Gural. Germain Deterlaine disagreed with Sagan's interpretation and defended the indigenous nature of the Dogon's Sirius information by producing a 400-year-old artifact illustrated by the Dogon people. There are other speculative aspects of Dogon cosmology that give the impression of a deeper relationship between Dogon myth and actual.
I'm so glad that they just had the evidence there to just go, pat, stop my man in his tracks. Nah, it's true though, isn't it? Because, you know, there's a lot of African culture, history that does get whitewashed or even just disregarded.
I'm intrigued by the masks. What do they actually look like?
What, you mean their faces?
No, they're not faces, are they? They're like helmets, aren't they, really?
I thought you meant underneath, but yeah.
Like space helmets, innit?
Well, that one looks like a lion, innit?
Which one?
This one here, the first one. But yeah, there's the other two.
Yeah, they've characterized them, but the basic structure of them is a big chunky helmet on your head with the beads down the side, like your hair back.
Space, yeah.
So look beyond the decoration.
I get what you're
stuff.
saying
Look
now,
at the eyes and absence of a nose, mouthpiece. You know.
Myth and actual science. Gural says that the Dogon myths describe how the Dogon god, Amma, created the universe in matter. The Dogon conceive of the unformed universe as a kind of primordial ball that contained all of the potential seeds or signs of the future universe. This ball is referred to as Amma's egg, as mentioned before, and Dogon artistic renderings of it take the same cone-like shape as the event horizon of a black hole in science. Stephen Hawking describes a black hole as an astronomical body that most closely resembles what the unformed universe may have looked like. Likewise, Dogon descriptions of the formation of the universe from Amma's egg are distinctly reminiscent of the Big Bang theory in science. According to Dogon myth, some undefined impulse caused this ball to open, releasing a whirlwind that spun and scattered its contents all over the universe, ultimately forming all the galaxies of stars and planets. Dogon descriptions of the mythological structure of matter are similarly reminiscent of science. They begin with a primary unit of matter called the Po, which the Dogon define in terms similar to an atom. The Dogon priests say that all matter is created by the continuous addition of like elements beginning with the Po. Likewise, the Po is defined as comprising smaller subcomponents like seneseeds, whose mythological descriptions, supposedly according to some, sound much like the protons, neutrons, and electrons of modern science. According to Dogon belief, these seeds combine at the center of the Po and then surrounded by a crossing in all directions to form a nest. A Dogon cosmological drawing of this nest takes a shape that is very similar to one of the typical electron orbital paths inscribed by an electron as it circles the nucleus of an atom. Like modern quantum theory, the Dogon myths tell of the existence of more than 200 primordial particles described as seeds or signs that are said to exist as paired opposites. Like modern string theory or torsion theory, these particles are said to be the product of the vibrations of primordial threads. According to Dogon myth, each thread passes through a series of 7 vibrations inside a tiny egg. These vibrations are characterized as 7 rays of a star of increasing length. The Dogon myths say that this last ray grows long enough to pierce the egg, an event that constitutes the end of the original egg and the initiation of a new egg. Together, these eggs in series are said to form membranes, which the Dogon compared to the thin covering that surrounds the brain. The Dogon alternately characterize these 7 rays by the spiral that can be drawn to inscribe their endpoints. This spiral can be said to be the tiny vortex that is proposed to exist in modern torsion theory. The Dogon myths also define a second thread of biological symbolism describing the formation of life from a fertilized egg, which can be seen to run parallel to actual biological science. The myths describe the hardening of an unfertilized egg that occurs at the moment of fertilization by a sperm and include descriptions of structures that resemble chromosomes and spindles and that seem to accurately describe key events that pertain to the division of a cell through the process of meiosis and mitosis. All in all, the Dogon seem to have orally recorded significant amounts of ancient African knowledge. Their culture not only preserves their own identity, but it also preserves invaluable scientific knowledge. The Dogon are no doubt one of the intellectual treasures of Africa. Well, I'm all out, guys. If you like these videos and want to help out in its continued production, please consider supporting the home team on patreon.com. The link is in the description box below. Know thyself. Remember your ancestors. Peace.
Know thyself. That was interesting, to be fair. You can see the Mali influence on it in the architecture. It's the same as Timbuktu. Obviously not as grand, but do you know what I'm saying? You could see that. But I didn't know that that was in Mali until he said it at the start. But to be fair, I only just heard of these people. So what was your take on it?
I'm where I was at the beginning, really. It's amazing, you know, what they know, and he's just give us an insight.
A snippet, yeah.
You get me? But the information, where does it come from? How do they know these things?
Mm-hmm.
This is the question for me. If, you know...
The problem is you'll probably never know that unless you was...
Well, they know where they got it from. They say where they got it from.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying, and you'll probably never know like the depths of their culture unless you are one of them, innit?
Yeah, but in terms of the space information, if they know the information and they say someone came from there and told us, and they know the information, you know, and culturally, like I says, what's the mask thing? There's all sorts of African art and all sorts of African stuff, but you know, how many different things do they have that basically look like, you know, it's just...
UFOs, extraterrestrials.
Well, if they say someone came and told them the information, someone came and told them the information, and that's where I rest my case.
I think it's quite sad, actually, that 35% have converted. So I can imagine that's... it's not a big tribe, is it?
It's Mali.
As it is.
It's Mali.
Yeah, there's Mali, but there's Dogon people in it. So it's not the same. They're a certain tribe found in a certain part of Mali. So I can imagine there's not that many of them.
But Africa's changed now. So in days gone by, I think tribes were more internal. You know, they tended to have rules and didn't marry outside the tribe and stuff, whereas...
What you think now it's
free
just...
flow, yeah.
It's
free flowing. The Mandinka or Mende people, as he says, same thing, Fulani people. These tribes are spread right across, and they've been there, just the name changes a bit from place to place, dependent on colonizer. But yeah, Mali is a Muslim country, so for 35% of them to have embraced Islam.
But he didn't actually say how old that religion was there either. That would be interesting to know.
Whose religion? The Mali?
No, the Dogon people.
Well, the religion goes with them, and not how old the Islamic religion is.
No, their religion.
Well, it comes with them, and so they came from another Niger River with their religion, and they assimilated people into the group, he says. And this is the culture, but the housing, the style of housing is not Mali style. It's specific to their tribe and their
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
But the use of mud, like I said, when you go to Africa, you can go and find a house that's made with mud and it's been there for 100 years.
Yeah.
It's easy because mud does last in that environment.
I was gonna say this is like lack of rain and
They have rain and it rains hard when it rains, but they also put in the work to maintain the properties.
yeah. Okay, then. So that was a history of the Dogon and their ancient science. Just quickly before we do go, again, please like, comment, subscribe, and tell us what you want us to react to. I'm looking forward to diving into a bit of Africa and finding out about the history, because we all know, what we're told, and we all know the surface level stuff. But let's see how far back this really goes and see. Wagwan. Alright then, we out. Peace.
Peace.